Hello, Black people. It's Eddie. I was having some thoughts about relationships because I've been talking a lot about relationships lately. And I remember something a girl I used to work with said about a guy she was with, and he was very, very clingy. And she was like, "Oh, we have a clinger." And like she couldn't remove this guy. Even when she broke up with him, he cried. And that made me think about how people are so desperate to get, some people are so desperate to get into relationships because they have that void in their lives, or they feel that certain loneliness that we all feel. But some people, I think, feel it more intensely than others. And they go out of their way to find a person to fulfill them or fulfill that void without really being enough before they go out to get a relationship. And I have a funny story about my own void. But I realized, thinking about how relationships are and can go, when you are in a relationship with a desperate and clingy type of a person, it's like drowning in somebody else's sea. And it's if you're an independent person, it can be very scary, and you automatically fight it. So, and for me, I know I fight it because it really bugs me. Because the funny thing about the relationship that I'm in now, I always had that feeling of loneliness and that kind of sadness and that lost feeling. And I've always been independent. I've always been very strong-willed and very determined. But then when it came to men, it was just like, oh, okay. And I would lose all of that. And I know that I'm on this earth for a purpose. And I kind of have figured it out. But I know that part of that purpose means that I have to stand up on my own 2 feet. And I have to do a lot of work by myself. And it took me a long time to understand that. And as soon as I got to the point where I said to myself, I'm enough. I'm really enough. And if I don't meet that person, then I'm going to be okay. I'm enough. I have everything I need. I can take care of myself, and I'm sufficient. I'm sufficient to live this life. And as soon as I said that to myself, I met a nice person. So that was really funny. And then as we talked to each other, I found out that as soon as he let go of a lot of the BS, and he decided that he wasn't going to be quote unquote trifling in a relationship and cheat and all this other stuff, and he let go of a lot of his negativity, that's when he met me. So it was really funny. It's very ironic how that happens. But the absolute worst way, I think the point of this video is the absolute worst way to begin a relationship or to seek a relationship is out of desperation, because the relationship is destined to fail. And 2 desperate people in a relationship, you won't ever get any peace. And trust me when I say I'm speaking from experience, because I've been in that situation where I was really desperate for the relationship. The guy was really desperate, and all we did was make each other miserable. And the only thing that the relationship could do was end. Because if we'd stayed together, we probably would have killed each other. So, or one of us would have killed the other, and we would have ended up, the other one would have ended up in prison, or, if it even mattered, in prison. But, I think as, we seek to start relationships, especially Black people, because I'm really concerned about where Black people are headed. But as Black men and Black women seek to start these relationships, I hope that if they have issues, that they would seek to resolve those issues. And if they are still dealing with the past relationship, that they won't seek to be in any relationship. Because I think we forget that once we end something, there is a period that we need to really focus on self-care. And I know self-care is usually a healthcare term, and this is a health issue. But you have to focus on getting yourself mentally back together, getting yourself emotionally back together, getting yourself spiritually back together. And most people don't stop and do that. They don't stop and take a breath and say, I've ended something significant in my life, or something I even thought was significant has ended. And I need to take a moment to grieve for this loss and, put myself back together, because relationships can take a lot out of you. But when you take that time to put yourself back together, you're a better person for that next relationship. And people don't stop to think about that. They just they pack that emotional baggage, and sometimes it gets packed before they're even born. And they keep dragging it throughout their lives. And the best gift that you could ever give yourself is to sit down with that bag and unpack all of that emotional baggage and burn it. That's the best thing, the best gift you could ever give yourself and the next person. And if you have children, for your children, because then your children don't grow up with your scars. So I just really wanted to say, before you seek another relationship, if you're ending one or have ended one, before you seek a new one, take some time to take care of yourself and get back on your feet, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, before you encounter somebody else. Because it's really difficult to deal with a person who is in the midst of their own emotional chaos. And when you get dragged into that, it can be very scary. And even if you care for the person, a thinking person would know that they would have to end a relationship like that. So that's all I want to say, is take care of yourself before you enter any other relationship. Peace and love, Black people.